Why did you do that? What is wrong with you? It's just an appraisal. This house is filled with memories of my parents. I was only curious about how much it might sell for. Stop being selfish. If you don't like how I handle things, you can leave. My name is Emma. I'm 28 years old and work in an office. I met my husband Ryan through a friend's party. Growing up, I was always focused on my studies. I went to an all-girls school and never had a boyfriend. Even in college, I stayed in my comfort zone and concentrated on academics instead of dating. After graduating, I jumped straight into my career and enjoyed it so much that I devoted all my time to work. Before I knew it, I was nearing 30 and hadn't experienced love or relationships. I didn't think it was a big deal until one day, while visiting my parents, my mom said, "Emma, I'm a bit worried about you." She was concerned that I didn't have a boyfriend or anyone I might marry. My mom has always been supportive and kind, so hearing her say this surprised me. "Even your dad worries about you," she added. "Really?" "Oh, Emma, you don't have to mention that," my dad muttered. "Well, your brother Jake got married and now has a baby. I feel so much better knowing you're happy too," my mom continued. Hearing that even my dad was concerned made me realize I'd been so focused on myself that I hadn't considered their feelings. I wasn't about to marry just to make them happy, but I decided it was time to take love and relationships seriously for myself too. From that moment, I started thinking about marriage. I used to wear simple makeup and throw on random clothes without much thought. I figured it was time for a change, so I asked my sister, Lily, for help. "Wait, have you fallen for someone?" she teased. "I'm getting ready to fall for someone." "What does that even mean?" she laughed. Still, Lily was so supportive. She taught me how to apply makeup and took me shopping to pick outfits that suited me. She even helped me learn how to style everything I bought. Since Lily used to be a hairdresser, she had an amazing sense of fashion and gave me great advice. Thanks to her, I looked and felt so much better. I even started getting compliments at work. One day at work, a coworker approached me and said, "Hey, I heard about this event. Want to join?" She showed me a website for a matchmaking party. I thought it sounded like a good opportunity and decided to give it a try. The party was filled with people of all ages, all looking for someone to marry. I was surprised to see so many people there. That's where I met Ryan, the man who would later become my husband. Ryan is the same age as me. He works as a construction worker and has been doing so since he graduated high school. He told me he had always wanted to go to college, but his parents didn't support him. In fact, they told him to leave their house as soon as he could and eventually kicked him out. Ryan had gone to all-boys schools his entire life and had never been in a relationship. By the time he reached his late 20s, he started to feel lonely and decided to try the matchmaking event. When Ryan shared his story with me, I felt an instant connection. His struggles were different from mine, but I admired his strength and resilience. It made me feel closer to him. We exchanged numbers that night and started meeting up. Ryan was so patient and understanding with me, especially since I was shy. After 2 years of dating, we got married when I turned 30. My parents were overjoyed with the news of our marriage. I wanted to meet Ryan's parents too, but he told me he had cut all ties with them and didn't want to reconnect. Instead, he asked if my family could take him in as their own. Understanding his situation, my parents agreed wholeheartedly. We had a small, intimate wedding with just our family. My parents were emotional when they saw me in my wedding dress. I'll never forget the way they cried tears of joy. In that moment, I felt like I had done something meaningful for them. Life with Ryan was happy and peaceful. He treated my parents with so much care and respect after we got married. I often visited them, and Ryan always came along. "Mom, how are you feeling today?" "Dad, let's go fishing sometime soon." Watching Ryan talk so kindly to my parents made my heart feel full. But a few years after we got married, something unexpected happened. One day, while I was at work, my mom called me out of the blue. She rarely ever called during my work hours, so I immediately knew something was wrong. "Emma, come to the hospital right now. It's your dad, he passed out." "What? No, no way." My mind went blank. Just a few days earlier, my dad had seemed perfectly fine when we visited. My boss noticed I was shaking and asked, "Are you okay?" That brought me back to reality. I left work early and rushed to the hospital. Emma, Mom. When I arrived, my mom and my sister, Sophie, were waiting outside the treatment room. Their faces were filled with worry. I joined my mom in silently praying for my dad to pull through, but he didn't make it. He had passed away. My dad died peacefully in his sleep, his face still and lifeless. My mom broke down in tears beside him. Seeing her in so much pain made my heart ache even more. I thought to myself, I have to do something to help her. I asked her if she wanted to come live with us, but she refused. "This house is special to me," she said. "It's filled with memories of your dad. I can't leave it." I was worried about her living alone, but she was so determined that I had no choice but to accept it. Instead, I started visiting her more often to help take care of her. A few months later, my sister Sophie divorced and moved back into our parents' house with her daughter. I felt relieved. At least she could be there for our mom when I couldn't. I thought everything would be okay. But just a few months after that, Sophie called me to tell me our mom had passed away. According to Sophie, our mom always seemed cheerful when we were around. But when she was alone, Sophie often heard her crying. She tried her best to cheer her up and spend time with her, but Mom was still deeply sad. Over time, she grew weaker. She stopped eating properly and didn't have the energy she used to. No matter how much Sophie begged her to go to the hospital, she wouldn't go. One day, while shopping at the grocery store, she passed out. By the time she got to the hospital, it was too late. It had been less than a year since Dad's death, and now Mom was gone too. I was overwhelmed with regret. I wished I had called her more often or visited her instead of leaving everything to Sophie. I couldn't stop thinking about how I should have been more sensitive to her grief. The guilt was unbearable. At her funeral, I sobbed uncontrollably. My husband Ryan held me and gently rubbed my back to comfort me. I was so grateful to have him by my side during such a hard time. One thing that gave me peace was knowing my parents got to see me married before they passed away. After the funeral, Sophie and I had a lot to take care of, including deciding what to do with our parents' house. We both agreed on one thing. The house was filled with too many memories of Mom and Dad to let it go. After talking it over, we decided Sophie would stay there with her daughter. Once everything was settled, life slowly returned to normal. Then, out of nowhere, I got a phone call from Sophie. "Hello, what's going on? You won't believe this." Sophie's voice sounded shaky and uncertain. "Actually, a real estate agent came by the house just now." "What? A real estate agent? Why?" "Well, he said he was there to appraise the house." "What do you mean?" "I don't really understand either. I thought only you and I could contact a realtor about the house." No. I didn't contact anyone. We talked about this, and we agreed we weren't going to sell the house." I know. I just wanted to double check." "So what happened with the real estate agent?" "I told him I didn't ask for an appraisal and asked him to leave." "Who in the world would have asked for an appraisal?" "Oh, by the way, I got a business card from the agent." "Really? Give me the company's number and the name of the person in charge." Sophie gave me the contact details, and I immediately called the real estate agent. After introducing myself and giving the address of the house, I asked to speak to the person in charge. The person confirmed that they had indeed visited the house for an appraisal. "Neither Sophie nor I requested this," I said. "Oh, by the way, the client was a man," the agent added. "Huh. He had the same last name, so I thought he was your brother." I ended the call and went straight to Ryan. "Hey, Ryan." "Yeah? What's up?" Did you ask the real estate agent to appraise my parents' house?" He looked at me with no surprise. "Yeah. What's the problem with that?" "Why would you do that? That house is filled with memories of my parents. You know I decided with Sophie that we weren't selling it." "Don't get so upset. I was just curious how much it could sell for. It's too big for Sophie and her daughter to live in. I think it would be better to sell it, get some money, and share it. That's why I asked for the appraisal." "Don't be so selfish. What's the big deal? I'm part of your family too. I have the right to decide about the house." "That's not what I'm talking about." "Shut up. Don't complain about how I do things. If you don't like it, then leave." With that, Ryan stormed off to his room. I was stunned. I thought he understood how I felt. Why was he acting this way? Did he really need money that badly? I began to suspect something wasn't right, so I hired a detective agency to look into things. That's when I found out something awful. Ryan had a $100,000 debt. I couldn't believe it. I took the day off from work, left the divorce papers on the table while he was out, packed my things, and left. I went to Sophie's and explained everything. Later that evening, Ryan called me. Hey, what's going on? Your stuff is gone. And what's with the divorce papers? What the hell is happening? I'm divorcing you. What? What do you mean? I left because you told me to leave. If you didn't like my way. Well, I did say that, but I didn't think you'd actually try to divorce me. I don't trust you anymore. That's a lot over one small argument. I'm not divorcing you because we fought over the house. I'm divorcing you because you've been hiding something terrible. What are you talking about? You're in a lot of debt. How did you find out about that? I hired a detective agency to look into it. How did you end up $100,000 in debt? Well, Ryan gave up and told me everything. My coworker told me he made a lot of money from foreign exchange and I got jealous. I tried it too, but it didn't go well, so I tried to recover my losses. The losses just kept growing. I was so caught up in it, I didn't realize how much money I was losing. I can't believe you didn't stop before it got worse. I'm really sorry. It's just that I've always had this gambling problem. You told me when we first got married that your parents were addicted to gambling, casinos, lotteries, everything. That's why there was never any money in your house. And now you're doing the same thing as them. Ryan was stunned into silence after that. I can't get your trust back once I've lost it. I hung up the phone and started the divorce process through my lawyer. Ryan begged me to reconsider. He promised to change. But I told my lawyer I wasn't backing down. Eventually, Ryan signed the divorce papers and it was finalized. It wasn't that his words didn't move me, but I was scared something like this might happen again. Once trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild. I stood firm in my decision, and I'm sure it was the right one. One day, when I borrowed his computer while he was out, I found that he had been searching for online gambling sites. He had been trying to win money quickly to pay off his debts. His debt might even be bigger now. Looking back, I'm really relieved we got divorced. I also got a restraining order against him. If he shows up near Sophie's house, I can call the police to remove him. Even though it's been a tough few years, I feel like I've grown stronger. My parents are gone, but I still have Sophie and my niece. I'm going to live a happy life for my parents and protect this house with Sophie. You've been through so much, Lisa. You're really strong for standing up to your husband's gambling addiction and going through with the divorce. It's sad your parents are gone, but like you said, live happily for them. And since you're still young, I hope you find a great relationship in the future. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this story. See you in the next video.